So the Sustainable Challenge project is an educational project done by the City Hall of Barcelona, Modafat, and FAT Barcelona, that basically give us an opportunity to create a space, a pedagogical space, to create fashion having a more critical perspective. This topic of this exhibition was gender perspective in fashion, but every year change the topic, but always have a line in between topics through like sustainability in a wider way. I've been involved in sustainable fashion since the first year. I've been one of the creative directors that started the project. The first year we started because I was having a story in Barcelona about secondhand and like upcycling, supporting designers of upcycling. So that's the main topic of the first year was upcycling. And then when we started, we've seen that the topic was bigger than we expected. So through my years, when I started working with Sustainable Challenge, I started studying as well social pedagogy. So that's how I involved two worlds into fashion to create that a space to put in question what we were doing in fashion, because usually fashion schools are mainly private. So are the results to create a student to solve problems in the private industry, but not from a public perspective. So having a space that we don't have to think about production or rentability or sales, it gives us much more freedom to think how we dress up and why we use clothes, and more philosophical questions that not just being nice or being fashionable. Sustainable Challenge doesn't have the aim of have an impact straight away to the industry. Obviously, it's a utopian place that we try to think outside of the system, but even if the results are created in just 3 days, so it's a very quick process, we put all the efforts to being present in all the process that is more important than just the result. That's why all the projects that work as a team, that is something that sometimes in fashion is not that promoted. It's more individualist than collaborative. So one of the main things that we put attention in Sustainable Challenge is the profiles that people who comes to join us to participate in that project, because we have a very diverse criteria to people who maybe doesn't have access to this kind of participation, to central cities, even for sex orientation or gender, racialization, or social-economical place or territory. So when these teams are creating these 3 days space in a pedagogical way, but in a creation space, it's interesting to see the vibe or how they finish thinking each other, how they have a space to teach the other students. So for us, the result is more like, remember that you can create this kind of a space in fashion, because then later when you will go to the real industry, it will be much more different. So for us, it's more like, remember you can create differently in another more sustainable space, thinking not just in the pollution or in all these impacts that the main industry has, more thinking in a human scale, more close to what you can do individually. Because obviously what you were talking about, the pollution and the discrimination that is inside of the industry, it's something has to be spoke or debate in a more structural way, not just in a few students. So that's why we want to make something more realistic and more approachable that they can bring to their industries in the future if they remember that experience. I've seen a change. I mean, I haven't seen the change straight away from my eyes, but I know that some studies are telling that people is choosing where to work through their values. That's something that in a few years ago it changed a lot. So in fashion changed as well. So people prefer maybe doesn't have much more income, but having a company who work with to have values more in common, and they are more respectful with the environment. So that's something that the biggest companies have to change because they need people to work in it. And obviously they can do green wash and pink wash and all the washes, but I think that can push something to think how things are done till now. Yes, the difference between countries, or between even you're talking about Catalonia as an autonomy instead of a country that as well has much more difference with the rest. We can, I can say that we have a tradition in politically more critical perspective that gives us a way of thinking the rest of life. So, I mean, we don't know how to do differently. Even Catalonia has a past as well, inside of the colonialism, inside of that history that some of the biggest companies in Catalonia have the same structure that these ones that you say, or I mean other countries that are not following the way of changing things to make it more sustainable to long time, or have it at least having more respectful for the environment. But I mean, I'm not gonna be like very philosopher, but I mean, like Foucault was saying with the power, like the networks of the power are very difficult to see just from a binary system. It's more like a network that is more expanded, and it's a group of people who try to push through new boundaries or new ways or new places, but always there's going to be resistance, always. So we have to live with it. But that doesn't mean that if you try to escape from it, it doesn't have any results.